Ladies and gentlemen, watch the segment prior to this one. There's one article that I reference or cite along with other articles. It's a Daily Beast article. And the Daily Beast, it's titled, "It's Over, Trump Will Be Indicted." And the reasons are, one, Trump was in unauthorized possession of national defense information, namely properly marked classified documents. Two, he was put on notice by the U.S. government that he was not permitted to retain those documents at Mar-a-Lago. Three, he continued to maintain possession of the documents and allegedly undertook efforts to conceal them in different places throughout the property, up until the Federal Bureau of Investigation finally got the search warrant earlier this month. This is the ball game, folks. And so let's look at the precedent set by somebody who actually did commit crimes and somebody who covered up those crimes. This is James Comey in July of 2016. This refutes pretty much everything in that Daily Beast article, or any article talking about Trump getting indicted. Now, he could very well get indicted, because they have nothing on him, and they can't stop him. So, it's an example of his direct political rivals going after him. Just like they cheated Bernie Sanders, just like they covered up the Hunter story through social media algorithms and suspended the New York Post's account, just like Comey covered up actual crimes. He literally states the following, quote, "Although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case." He states, James Comey, that Clinton violated the law. The rule of law was ripped to shreds. Apparently, Hillary was above the law. When they say nobody's above the law, well, Madam Secretary was. He told the world, although there is evidence of potential violations, there was evidence of violations. Clinton had secret servers for 4 years. Trump had boxes as a former president. Okay, you have a former president who is negotiating, not hiding anything from the National Archives or the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who wrote him a thank you note, according to the Wall Street Journal, in June. They already looked at those boxes. They already obtained records. He was a former president who had documents for a library. This is completely different from what Comey found with SAP intel and classified data being funneled somehow, siphoned. We have no clue how. We know that Trump took boxes in a U-Haul or a truck and shipped them to Mar-a-Lago as a former president. Now you have journalists on the left saying, "Oh, we got him this time." It's like, they might, if you watch the segment prior to this one, it looks, in my view, there's a 50-50 chance he gets indicted simply because they can't stop him. They set him up and framed him with a dossier purchased by Clinton. Journalists on the left know this. The Steele dossier was purchased by Clinton. The Mueller probe found nobody who colluded. Every single thing they accused Trump of has been a catastrophic, deceptive lie leading to a catastrophic failure in terms of them indicting him or convicting him. They can't even find the evidence to indict him. Now, this might change because 2024, they're not going to be able to stop Trump with mashed potato brains in a recession that's getting worse and worse. And I predicted that in my article in the Federalist. To read my writing on The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, the Federalist, other publications, go to hagoodman.com. You can see my debates there as well. If you want to support my work, my Patreon is below. You want to give a super thanks, I appreciate that. And subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. I have a segment out this evening. And 1,000 points down in the Dow. And also H.A. Goodman's other channel. But although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. Really, why not? And then he goes through the cover-up. Well, this is unprecedented. Yeah, nobody has ever had secret servers funneling data outside of the United States government. What Clinton did was infinitely worse. 30,000 emails that nobody accusing Trump of crimes has any idea regarding. Nobody knows what those 30,000 emails entailed. If Trump had 30,000 emails on secret servers, they would accuse him of selling launch codes to the Kremlin. They would accuse him of that. With Clinton, nobody even asks. Then you have Hunter, who has emails stating, how can you use your influence on the company's behalf? And clear violations of the law. And graft and bribery. If you read the Daily Mail and New York Post articles. Everything I'm saying is cited, public record. And we know that it's public record because even Facebook admitted on Joe Rogan that they suppressed the story. See, the problem is they're so desperate to get Trump, but the precedent has already been set. They either can't indict him because the precedent has been set, or they're not going to convict him even if they do indict him, because they almost, from a political standpoint, have to indict him. Democrats have nothing to run on except contempt for Trump. And so that's what really fuels, like, when you're voting for Democrat, you know there's a recession, you know there's a geopolitical nightmare in Europe. You don't care because your disdain for Trump is so overwhelming. You'll vote for a terrible economy. You'll vote even though your vote increases the crime rate, because there's crime soaring throughout the country. There's a recession. Real wages are down 4.4%. So you're voting for a recession. You're voting for negative economic growth. 2 quarters of negative growth. And then, of course, it's redefined now as, well, are we really in a recession? Of course we're in a recession. You pump $10 trillion into the economy. Democrats push to end economic activity. And then they say, gee, are we really in a recession? Clinton, if you look at the Daily Beast, Trump was an unauthorized possession. Clinton had secret servers without the ability to declassify anything. Secret servers that even President Obama allegedly didn't know of. Of course he knew of. She emailed him. And how he was able to accept emails from a network outside the United States government, nobody knows. How on earth do you think you could just take a Gmail account or a Hotmail account or whatever, a Yahoo email account, and email the President of the United States of America? You think that's going to happen? It will never happen. You'll never be able to email the President on an email that doesn't, it's not directly within secure government networks. But Clinton was able to siphon all this information outside the U.S. government. And it's like they made a mockery, an absolute mockery of classified data for 4 years. He was put on notice by the U.S. government. He was not permitted to retain those documents. Clinton signed documents pertaining to knowledge about how to store classified data. Then she promptly set up private servers. She knew very well what she was doing. Okay. You have Joe meeting Hunter's business associates in the West Wing and forcing out prosecutors, and then saying you're not going to get $1 billion in loan guarantees. And then you have emails from the company that the prosecutor was going to investigate saying, oh yeah, how can you use your influence on the company's behalf? And then you get Democrats with every single plausible deniability defense. Well, you can't prove this, you can't prove that. You can't prove anything with Trump other than he had a dispute with the National Archives, and the National Archives is saying something. He's saying another thing. He didn't have private servers run by people, dedicated people, only to funnel and transfer top secret data outside the U.S. government. Then Comey writes a letter after the initial cover-up, after he told the world, yeah, there were legal statutes broken. Clinton is above the law. And I want a Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump 2024. I pray every day Hillary becomes the nominee. But they actually committed crimes, which is why they might indict Trump. And for people who just despise Trump, they're going to look at it like, oh, too bad. You know what? It doesn't matter if they're after him. You know what? It's apolitical. They'll just close. They'll just, they'll shut down. The cognitive dissonance will be like this security blanket they'll cover their ears with, and they won't look at, they'll say, what about us? And what about us? Yeah, it's called hypocrisy. He continued to maintain possession of the documents and allegedly undertook efforts to conceal them. Excuse me? You had private servers. And you had 30,000 deleted emails. And you had, my God, you had so many different problems. You had they were unencrypted according to Forbes and Fortune for 3 months. This is just one example. Then you had other issues with servers and Democrats. We won't even get into. Okay, these people hide all the time. But if you have Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and every publication from the MSNBC, New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, New York Times, BuzzFeed, Vice, New Yorker, New York Magazine, The Atlantic, Time Magazine, Vanity Fair, Esquire, All of these publications, not one supporter of Trump, not one person writing an article that backs, the viewpoint of President Trump saying, hey, I didn't commit those crimes. They accused him of things he didn't do for 6 years. He was never installed by another country. That was the Steele dossier purchased by Clinton. Clinton's team had to pay FEC violations. But see, it's like chum in the water. These people are desperate to get Trump. They're desperate. They're desperate. But James Comey either prevented indictment or he prevented conviction. They might indict him, but they ain't going to convict him. If you didn't indict Clinton and she had all of this information on secret servers funneled and siphoned outside the US government, nobody on the planet right now, except probably Comey and Strzok and McCabe and Clapper and Brennan, and President Obama, but nobody on the planet aside from those people know how Clinton, and even Clinton probably doesn't even know, how Clinton siphoned classified data from secure government networks onto her servers for 4 years. Nobody knows. She was able to store and receive emails with top secret SAP intel. The entire planet, according to Michael Hayden, almost certainly infiltrated and hacked all of those emails. The point is, how is she able to you think you could go and email Central Intelligence or any DOD or Pentagon or any of these places with your email account? Because that's essentially what Clinton did. And they're going after Trump? Okay. Well, James Comey just prevented all of that. If he gets indicted, which is a very real possibility, he's not going to get convicted, and it'll make him only more popular. But see, you'd have to understand the hypocrisy at work, and you'd have to have the emotional ability. See, the people who just want Trump indicted and don't care, there's a character flaw within those people. They have a character flaw. People who disown friends and family because they can't possibly believe that another person would have a rational, educated, logical vantage point in voting for Trump, those people have a character flaw. Those are the same people who would do you in times of need in other eras of the world. You can go in 1930s, 1940s. These are people that have serious character flaws because they convince themselves that their political side is just and morally superior, when actually, if you actually have any knowledge of politics, Democrats are the epicenter of corruption. There's a reason. This is why I say, like, punk and rock and roll, it's no longer alive. You have, like, former punk icons, despising Trump. It's like, no, you're siding with Hollywood and intel agencies and the Democratic Party and people like the Lincoln Project that want never-ending wars. They're all against Trump. Why do you think that is? Maybe you're on the wrong side of history. And then you get the imbeciles saying Trump's on the wrong side of history. For what? Bringing home Americans and presiding over record low poverty rates? The record low in poverty and a record high in household median income in 2019. They can't stop Trump, so they get Democrats who most are not into politics. They don't even remember what James Comey said in 2016. They just want Trump indicted. And they might get their wish just because Democrats can't run on anything. I explained that in the segment prior to this one. Hit subscribe right now. Thank you so very, very much.